Okay, welcome to Chapters and Chats, Craig. It's our first of 2026, and I'm Kelly. We've been chatting a little bit, and this is my co-host, Ivana here.
Hi, Craig.
Hey guys, I'm honored to be on the inaugural 2026 episode. I
Happy
hope I don't
year.
screw it up.
No pressure, no pressure at
No
all.
pressure.
No,
You're just the first one. You just set
yeah,
the tone for the whole year, so no pressure.
no pressure. Well, we've all read your book, and we're so blown away by your writing and your storytelling. And we have so many questions for you that we have just been talking about in book club. So we've all read the book. We would love this to be a spoiler-filled conversation and just to
Please.
get in the weeds about the story. So if that's all right with you, we will be sure to mention on our YouTube recording that this is spoiler-filled.
I'm thrilled because Josh Radner and I are doing a How I Met Your Mother rewatch podcast. We're trying not to do spoilers, and it's a bummer. So
Mm.
I like please. I'm hungry for spoilers. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So if you're watching the recording and you haven't read the book yet, stop, go finish the book, and come back when you're done.
That's an added bonus. It makes people
Yes.
finish the book, right,
Yes,
viewers?
there we go. There we go. So this book just really captures the joys of raising a child with a disability and the challenges and just this insider baseball with Hollywood and book publishing. And as book people, we were really drawn to that aspect as well. How
Yeah.
did you, as this co-creator of How I Met Your Mother and a musician, I read that you write songs for Sesame Street too. I'm like, oh my goodness, what what do you now
Yeah,
do?
I did. I got to write 5 songs for Sesame Street, and it was one of the highlights of my entire career. It was really cool. I haven't done it in a
That
while, but it was really fun while I was doing that.
that is amazing. So how did you decide to take your many talents and put them towards writing this novel?
Yeah, I mean, so it began during How I Met Your Mother. The seed was planted of wanting to do this during How I Met Your Mother because I don't know how much backstory folks know or want to hear, but to try to make it somewhat brief. My son was born between season 2 and 3 of How I Met Your Mother, and we had no idea that there would be anything complicated about that. The normal battery of tests at that time didn't show anything in utero. And then he was born and he was smaller than they thought, and he wasn't saturating oxygen as well as he should. And there were just signs that something was wrong, and he was whisked away from us. Like we held him for 3 seconds and it was like, boom, he's in the NICU. And they spent about a week not knowing why. He's got viral pneumonia. He has this, he has that. And it was actually probably borderline bad practices that they didn't look at his heart and didn't do a genetics test immediately. I think now they would in 2026. This is 2007. And they finally looked at his heart first and they said, oh, this is why. He's got all these heart problems and he's going to need open heart surgery. So he had open heart surgery at 2 weeks old, weighing about 3 pounds, 3 pounds and 3.5 pounds. And basically rewiring his heart. It was the main problem was the various veins in his heart hadn't formed correctly. And they're basically taking veins the size of dental floss and like rewiring them like a movie about defusing a bomb, except it's my son's heart, you know? And it was insane. And we had a brilliant surgeon who saved his life at Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. It's actually very randomly the same heart surgeon that did Jimmy Kimmel's baby's heart surgery and also did a quintuple bypass on Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I always say, like, my son's heart and the Terminator's heart both had the same man's hands on them, which is a really weird thing to brag about, but I'm going to brag about it nonetheless.
It's very
Uh,
niche. Yeah, very niche.
it's a small demographic, the people that can say that. Um, and then the heart surgery was successful. It really saved his life. It was really like a life or death procedure. And we were celebrating, and they say the geneticist wants to talk to you. And maybe there's other people here tonight or watching this on YouTube that have had this experience where they say the geneticist wants to talk to you. Go walk down that long. We said, oh, send her in. We'll just be here at the NICU next to, our son in this plastic box, with his chest held together by tape and wires in him. And they say, no, no, this is a private conversation. We've booked the private room for your conversation. And you realize at that moment, that's the bad news room, right? That's the room you do not want to go to. and you're walking down this hallway as it dawns on you that you're walking into a different life, essentially. And we walk down this bad newsroom hall to the bad newsroom, and it's like a windowless room with like Kleenex and like nothing else, like Kleenex on a table and a couch. And the geneticist is like, "Hi." And thus began this journey that we never thought we'd be on and we never signed up for. And this was and my son was diagnosed with something called Jacobson syndrome, which is a genetic deletion where he's missing part of the bottom part of one of the 11 chromosome pairs, and that can have a lot of health ramifications, heart ramifications, and developmental ramifications. And a geneticist in 2007 who had never seen one single actual kid with Jacobson syndrome basically had like the WebMD printout that just sort of like crowdsourced every worst thing that could happen to a kid with Jacobson syndrome and kind of read us that. And rather than any nuanced sense of like the different outcomes, like, and broke our hearts, used the R word in describing what he would be
Oh,
like. Yeah.
oh,
And basically really did us a disservice by not giving us a very true portrait. I keep on saying I wish I could go back in time from now to go meet me and my wife walking out of that bad newsroom. If I could like time travel in a DeLorean back to there, I would say, hey guys, because right now in this 2026, my son is 18. He can play drums perfectly to the entirety of Stairway to Heaven. He can play tennis with me. He's funny. He's currently living away from me at a residential school for young adults with disabilities, engaging in a level of independence I never thought would be possible. And if I could just go back in time and see those people, gray and ashen, walking out of that bad newsroom that was my wife and I when we were 30, and say to them, there's going to be gifts in this journey. I fucking swear to you, there's going to be some gifts in this journey, but you don't know it in that moment. And what did I have to do? I had to go back to writing jokes. I was running a TV show. I was very much ensconced in Hollywood. So I was going to write a sitcom, and I was living like this kind of dark medical drama in my private life. It was such a weird time for me. And I knew at that time, I have to write something about this one day. There's something so interesting about trying to juggle these two worlds. And I had a weird thing where the two of the characters on How I Met Your Mother are based on me and my wife. Do I write this story for them on TV? And you turn on CBS Monday night at 8:30 and after King of Queens and before Two and a Half Men, and you see Jason Segel and Allison Hannigan in a dark medical drama. No, it's a sitcom. So I didn't write it on How I Met Your Mother, but I always regretted that I never found a way to write about disability, to write about this huge new journey I was on for the characters that were based on me and my wife. But I didn't. And that always stuck in my head as a regret. Like, oh, there's some way I could have covered this on that show. And the good part of that is that it's what led me to finally write this book. That was a
oh.
really long answer. Sorry.
Well, that was
I
I'm so glad you took the time to say it in that
swear
way.
not all my responses will be that long.
No, that was really beautiful, and I'm that sets the stage for everything here, and um just that desire in your heart to want to share about your son and to finally, get this opportunity in a new way and give it its own stage, I think is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted, it's such a huge part of my life. Like my life up to How I Met Your Mother, I sort of wrote about in How I Met Your Mother, and then at a certain point, my life diverged from the events of the characters on How I
Mhm.
Met Your Mother, and I felt like I was living this other life that I wanted to write about, and I tried in many times in TV and film and failed in ways that were insane and triggering and weird, some of which I put in this book. I tried to pitch ideas in TV and film and was told all kinds of things that are now in this book, all kinds of wrong things about representation, all these noble, we love this, but there's no audience for this, that
Mhm.
type of thing, which of course we know now that if you aggregate the disability community in America, it's like America's largest minority. And yet there's people in Hollywood who will tell you that's a niche idea. It's very
Mhm.
niche. there's not a big audience for that. You're like, but there is. I know
Yeah.
there's not a big audience for Jacobson syndrome. I know my son has a rare genetic syndrome, but the community that can relate to this experience is vast, and they
Mhm.
want stories. They want stories for them that feel real for them and that are funny
Yeah.
because the story there you have to laugh to get through this journey. You have to.
Mhm.
And I wanted to write a book that was funny about this. So
Yeah.
that's why I did it.
I love
You
that.
did. I mean, we were laughing and we were crying. It was a
Oh,
little bit of everything.
thanks. That's so nice to hear, Ivana. I really appreciate that.
Mm, yeah.
When you're setting out to write this book, how did you come to choose Down syndrome? Because it's semi-autobiographical in some
Yeah.
respects, and you've kind of veered away from the Jacobsons. Did that feel too personal to you? Why choose Down syndrome, and what did kind of your thought process or research look like as you're creating Emmett's character?
Yeah, that is a very insightful question. It's a little bit the sort of sharper version of the question is, did you chicken out about writing what your son really has? I do not, I'm not saying that's what you asked, but that is like the slightly side question that one could ask. I would say two things. One, I spent a bunch of years trying to get this movie made. I wrote that was about Jacobson syndrome, where I really did feature that in the movie. It was called Molly and the Moon. It was, believe it or not, a movie musical about the first 6 weeks of Elliot's life in the NICU. And we had Jonathan Groff and Kristen Bell, the couple from Frozen, as the sort of me and my wife character. We had the film fully financed, and we were location scouting. And all of a sudden, to various a tale as old as time, various logistics about timing and scheduling and actor availabilities, it like disappeared like a magic trick. It just it like went poof, and we were so close to doing this project. But along the way, the financiers who were just like money guys, they kept saying things like, because there were characters in that movie that had to be played by by actors with disabilities. And they would say, yeah, but I don't know, we should look at everybody. Meaning, we need these to be singers. We're doing a musical. What if the people with disabilities aren't good singers? Like, let's just keep the door open. We'll see everybody. And I was like, no, 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 we have to do it right. Representation matters. Like, yeah, yeah, no, we'll see everybody. So it was like in this weird, awkward dance with these financial people who knew the script was cool, knew the actors attached were cool, knew there was something about the project, but they didn't quite get what representation was. And when that thing disintegrated because of logistics more than because of the financiers not getting it, but the financiers were definitely not getting it. And I was in a really awkward conversation with them the whole time. When that sort of went away, I said, I want to write something else about disability, but I want it to be not about exactly what my son has. A, in case that ever comes back around, that movie, but B, I wanted to have a little more distance from it because what was hard about that project, and we tried for years to get that project made. Several different sets of financiers and money people and movie people would come in, say awkward things about it, and flirt with it and never get it made and hurt my feelings and give me notes that were like notes on me and notes on my wife and notes on the experience. And like, that's not how it would happen. I'm like, no, but that is what happened in my life. This is actually my life. All the stuff I put in my book now, that's where you're getting notes on your actual life, essentially. That character's unlikable if they say that. Well, I said that, you know. um, and all of these became ingredients in the book, but because of that, I wanted to write not a rare syndrome story because I wanted it to feel like it's a thing people have heard of, right? This character has something some people have heard of because the idea of a rare syndrome really deserves its own thing. If I was going to write about a rare syndrome, I feel like that would have to be that. And I didn't want the book to be, I had too many other ideas for the book that weren't that I thought I can't do justice to rare syndromes. I have to have it be something you've heard of. So that's why I made it Down syndrome. And also Elliot went to this wonderful school. My son Elliot, he went from kindergarten all the way to age 18 to this wonderful school, the Ideal School of Manhattan, this inclusion school that mixes kids with disabilities with typically developing kids. Great place, great mission, founded by three moms who are Down syndrome moms. And they did not see a school that fit their atypical kids, that really saw their kids as having strengths, not just deficits. And these three moms, like 20 years ago, created a school They said it's not there, so we're going to make it exist, the right school for our kids. And it's not just for kids with Down syndrome. We'll see everybody. They saw my son. They brought him in. We moved back after How I Met Your Mother. He got in kindergarten there. And I was so inspired by these three mothers that had created a universe for their own children and said, "Hey, everybody else, come on, come here. We see you all." And I one of those moms, her son Max is a big inspiration for Emmett, and Elliot and Max are the two big inspirations for Emmett because Max is a killer drummer himself. Max is who made me think it was worth trying to teach my son drums. All the doctors and all the therapists were like, he probably can't do that. Drums are four limbs doing four different things at the same time. How can a kid with fine and gross motor skill delays do that? And I said, no, music is magic. And during the pandemic, during lockdown, my son's immune compromised. So we spent a year and a half living in our country house in the woods to protect him. And I taught him how to play drums, and he became great. And the reason I thought that could happen is because Max, who was 4 or 5 years older than Elliot in the Ideal School, who was killing it, playing drums up in front of hundreds of people at Ideal School events. And I was like, if Max can do it, Elliot can do it, man. You need those role models. And so I had this Max is a really charismatic guy, like my son. And so he was a huge inspiration. He has Down syndrome, and so I that was another reason for that.
Mm, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, you can just tell that the characters are infused with like such warmth and they really jump off the page.
I'm so glad. I mean, I was nervous writing a character with a disability, right? I knew I wanted to have these four different voices, and I knew I wanted really the most important voice and to be Emmett's in a way. And I wanted it to feel that that voice had charisma and power and agency and really had his own feelings and take on what his life should be. Because I know my son does. And so much of how my son expresses himself and his passions and his joys and the magic of him is in Emmett. But also just my son had a lot of friends with Down syndrome at this school that was founded by these moms. So I got this window into these amazing kids that were like born performers, many of them. like like scene stealing actors in the school play, and Max the kick-ass drummer. And when Max graduated, the next kick-ass drummer was Elliot. Elliot became the pit band drummer for the school plays, and he played 4 years in a row. He was drumming for the school plays. The Lion King Junior, Frozen Junior, or whatever. I tried not to be too triggered by Frozen Junior since I had almost gotten to make a
Yes.
movie starring the actors from Frozen, but I still tried to be objectively enjoy that one. Uh, but yeah, it was these are the things I wish I could say to past me and past my wife coming out of that bad newsroom. Like, you don't know how many amazing people you're going to get to meet because of this that you
Mhm.
would never have met. And you'll have a whole other story to tell, which is this book for me. And my wife has made some beautiful, my wife's a dancer choreographer. She's made some beautiful work based on Elliot. And if you can wrap your arms around this experience, there's a lot of magic. There's a lot of gifts in it.
Well, that was one of my questions for you later is, what advice or encouragement would you give to other parents of children with disabilities? Myself, we've chatted too. I've got a son on the spectrum and
Yeah.
just feel like we're kind of in the thick of it. And I keep telling myself there's goodness to be found here.
Yeah.
I believe that, and we're getting snippets of that. And it feels good to hear somebody who's maybe a season ahead in raising children to verify
That
that.
was a really nice way to call me old. That was really sweet. You nailed it. A season. I'm not old. I'm a season ahead.
You are a season ahead in parenting.
How old is your son? I'm teasing. How old is your son? Your son?
7.
Your son. 7. Yeah, I mean, 7. Yeah. So Elliot would have just started the ideal school on my timeline, and because he's a year old for his grade, we started him a little
Yeah,
late, and so 7 would have still been, what is this? What's happening for
yeah.
me? I mean, it's still that at 18, right? But like it's every day you're like, what is this? What's happening?
Mhm.
But and it's like it's a practice, I think. I think that would be my best advice. It's like, right, it's like going to therapy. Like It's not like I went to therapy Monday. Now I'm okay.
Mhm. Yes.
I did yoga once. I'm really set for life now. No, it's a practice like it is every fucking day, right? It's every day and it's a journey every day, I think. What advice? Here's a bit of advice that comes to me because I'm thinking now about past me because I sort of been talking about the time travel piece. Uh, I wish I had been more open about it to people when it first happened because my son was born with this rare syndrome no one's ever heard of, and the geneticist herself had never heard of, and I was running this TV show, right? That was like a big job, and it was like I was the boss of 100 people, and we were spending millions of dollars per episode to make a TV show to air to millions of people. And I didn't want all the people in the studio and the network to be like, he's compromised now somehow. Craig is not going to be good at this job anymore. I had all of these fears, like they're going to be, I shouldn't let people know how extreme this whole experience was or something. Even in my circle of people I was working with at the time, or the writers' room and the actors, and I would sort of pick and choose who I'd tell the full story to, kind of, who I'd say my fears to, who I'd say, this is what's really hard about it. I felt this, people have such a you can sense people's discomfort sometimes that they want to hear the inspiring
Mhm.
version, right? They want to hear that it's all inspiring and you've solved it and you've come through the other side and you've found the deeper meaning and you have the long view. And some days, most days, that's just not the case. And I wish I had just been more open to people about, or right away, about this is what it is. This is where I am. And these are all this is what we're up against. And these are the good parts, these are the bad parts. And yeah, I see someone messaging about this. I uh, I wish I'd just like spilled my guts to everybody more. I was young. I was like 30. It was my first kid. I didn't know how to be a parent. I already didn't know how to be a TV showrunner. We're 30, well, maybe it's 31, running a TV show. I'd never done that before. I had a kid. I'd never done that before. How to present myself, how to, comport myself, whatever. I just wish I'd been like more willing to share the messiness of it all with
Mhm.
everybody. And that's what I hope is the tone of this book, which is to say, I really didn't want it to be inspiration porn,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and I really didn't want it to be tragedy porn, where it's like, here's how dark and horrible this always is. And no, it's the messy middle, right? But that's, I hope, the tone of the book. It's certainly that's the tone of life in our shoes, Kelly, and anybody else on here that has a kid that is complicated in any way. The messy middle is where we live, right? That's it. And so I hope that's the tone of the book. And that's definitely, I wish I shared that more
Mm.
sooner
Yeah.
than I
Yeah.
did. Does that make any
Yeah.
sense?
It does. And
Yeah.
I,
Too lonely, right? It's too lonely
yeah.
otherwise. Why am I going to pretend anything,
Mhm.
you know?
There's two readers even just on here who are connecting with your advice already. So I think that's a powerful message, to
Yeah,
send.
and it's funny. It's just like it's all the things at once, this experience, right? It's all of the things. And you guys are book people, so I'll tell you a little book gossip, book dirt. When I wrote this book, here's the part where I talk trash for no reason.
Oh, we like this.
Uh,
Yeah, this is juicy. This is great. Yeah.
lean forward, haha. When I pitched the book, I sent it to two book agents for first of all, one that a friend recommended, and one is the one that became my book agent, who was amazing. Unfortunately, the first book agent is the one that got back to me first. This is my first novel. I just spent 2 years writing it. I sent it to two people, two book agents, just to see do they think this can sell? Because of course I'm writing this for 2 years, going, will people want a comedy about this? Will this work? Will this have an audience? I believe there's an audience for this, but will anyone let me will anyone in the book business think that, right? I know there's an audience for it, but will anyone think that? Certainly, I was coming off of Hollywood showing me they didn't think that.
Mhm.
Because I did, I won't even go into all the other TV and film pitches I tried to get disability into that didn't work in agonizing ways. I could also tell some trash stories about that if you want. But I'll stick with the current trash story, which is the book agent that I first sent it to writes me back and she says, "Really well done. A lot of funny stuff in here. Um, my problem is the character of Emmett. And you've written the character of Emmett as too happy because that makes it facile and oversimplified. And I think the struggle and the pain of it isn't coming through in this character. And I don't buy it." And I wrote her back. First of all, I knew she didn't understand the book, right? Just like say no more. Like I know you don't understand the book, but I wrote her back like it's based on my son, who's the happiest person I've ever fucking met.
Mm.
He's happier than me. He's happier than most people I know. He's so musical. He's happy when he's hearing music. He's happy when he's playing music, and that's every day. And so I'm not trying to create or fabricate something I don't see in the world.
Mm.
I'm writing about people I know, Elliot and a composite of other people I know, I've known for years. And you're telling me you're not buying that there's happiness to this journey. And that, like, in defending that there's happiness here, it was helpful to me in a weird way, even though I felt offended by the note and that she
Mhm.
didn't want to represent my book because she thought that was wrong. I I I felt actually sort of confident in my belief of saying no. I get a lot of my happiness in life from his
Mm.
happiness, that from osmosis. And it was really nice to actually say, no, you don't understand this. Also, I felt like I'm not shying away from pain for Emmett. I don't know how you guys feel. You read the book. You tell me when you ask questions. I think I hope I showed Emmett having his own struggles and his own pain. And I try not to sugarcoat things for Emmett. Um, but he's also happy too, a lot of the time. And then sometimes he's not, just like every other person on the planet. And the idea that I had to categorize him in some way in this book agent's mind. Thank God another book agent wrote me the next day, right before I wanted to jump off a bridge, and
Mm.
wrote, "This is an amazing book. This is really specific and unique. We will have to find people that believe in it. It will take a minute. We won't pitch this and we sell it in 2 weeks. We will sweat it out for a bunch of weeks or a couple months. But at the end, this will land with someone that really believes in it and really understands it, and we will get this book published." And that is exactly what happened.
That's a blessing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that the first one, yeah, didn't work out because you can tell right off the bat, like you missed the mark here. You missed the point.
It was almost didn't hurt that much. Writers hate that feeling, but it didn't hurt that much because I was just like, she didn't get it, right?
Mhm.
She did not understand what I was trying to do there. But it's so nice that so many people have, including everyone on this meeting right now. So that's the best part.
Yeah.
It's just like Kristen said here, which like were my exact thoughts. Like I called Kelly right away to tell her, it's like you felt like you were truly with a real family. Every person had their own dynamic feel, and I don't know if it was also like the narrators that were so authentic. Everything, your words like from the page just like leapt, and we all felt like we were with a real family. Like nobody wanted to end the book. Nobody wanted to stop.
Hmm.
And then like, now Emmett's got this documentary that his sister's making. And I'm like, if only that was real, if only I could watch it. We need to see it. We need to just get our eyes on it. Can't believe they're not real.
I mean, that's thrilling to hear. Truly, that's a dream come true to hear from you guys. So thank you. I truly, that's why I wrote the book. Thank you guys for getting it.
Oh,
Kristen, do you have your hand up? Did you want to make a comment or a question?
I do, and as Craig has continued to talk, I have more comments and questions. But the first comment I wanted to make, Craig, is I've been working in special education for this is my 28th year, so I'm getting close to retirement someday maybe. And
You're my hero.
mhm.
well, thank you. And now I work as a school psychologist, where I used to be a teacher. And so what I wanted to share, and I know I'm not sharing any rocket science here, but when you made a comment earlier about how you wish you would have just been more open at the time, maybe you've thought about this, maybe you haven't, but I see parents from, I work in elementary, so I see parents from K
Yeah.
through 5, and I see the journey that those parents take over those years, and
Yeah.
I see the way they come in at the beginning with fear and reticence and quietness
Yes.
and privacy, and then I see them at the end and how they're different. And like today,
Yeah.
we had a student of the month assembly, and there was a fourth grader who got a student of the month for teamwork. And the dad was there with this huge camera with this big lens taking pictures. And I got chills because I was like, 3 years ago, this kid was a fucking nightmare. And now he's getting an award for teamwork. And like those parents in particular
Extraordinary.
are not the same as they were 4 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I feel
Yeah.
like, you say that now that you wish you would have shared more, but don't you feel like that's part of your journey? Like
Yeah.
you
That's right.
learned and you didn't know at the
It's a,
time. But
you're right. You're right. It's a false premise. I could, maybe I just couldn't have.
yeah.
It's the journey. I think that's why I wrote the book, meeting these characters at the age we did, because I wanted it to be after a bunch of the journey, but also very much at the juncture of a
Mhm.
new journey beginning. All parents, and tell me if you've heard this, Kristen, like every parent I meet that like myself calls it the cliff. The moment age 22 is the cliff. We're gonna fall off the cliff soon. Ah, that cliff's coming. It's like there was a memo sent out that we're all supposed to call it the cliff. It's the weirdest thing. It's like that in like Inception, like how do we all know the Jingle Bells Batman smells song? How did that happen? It's the
Yeah.
same thing. Like somehow we all know to call it the cliff. We're gonna fall off the cliff. And of course, I talk about that in the book. And it's such an interesting thing. I was on a podcast that is done by a couple that are parents of a young adult with Down syndrome around Emmett's age, and they love the book, so they had me on their podcast called "If We Knew Then." So it's very much that the podcast title is like what I was saying earlier about the time travel, right? If we knew then, and but it's about this woman that this amazing mom that she said she was talking about the cliff in the interview, and she said, "You know what my thing about the cliff is? I grew up in the Caribbean, and for me, cliffs are something you jump off of into warm water,
Mm,
and the warm water catches you, and you float,
mm.
and it's gorgeous, and it's phenomenal. Cliffs
That's
are
neat.
great." And she
Yeah.
was like, "That's the part you can't see until later. That
Yeah. It's almost like that
there's something there
iceberg.
to catch you, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
but
other thing I
you
want,
can't see it till you see it. I just think that that's a
yeah.
journey. You're right. It's a journey.
Well, and the other thing I want to share is you mentioned at the beginning that one of the doctors used the R word when they spoke to you.
Yeah.
And I Googled it because I wanted to make sure I got the date right. And I'm in Oregon. And in Oregon, we didn't change the terminology for special education from mental retardation to intellectual disability until 2011.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was in a role prior to 2011 where I was using that word.
Right.
Um, and it was hard. It was really hard. But I mean, that was the terminology we used. So maybe that doctor wasn't trying to be an asshole. Maybe he just was using the word that was unfortunately more commonly used.
I
Uh,
think you're right. It was 2007. And are you saying that you were like using that word because that was the terminology, but in your head you're thinking, why are we still using that word? Is
kind
that what you
of.
mean? Yeah.
Well, kind of. I mean, because
That's interesting.
I don't know if the school your son went to had, if you went through the eligibility process for special education, but in federally for a long time, and I don't know state by state how people are doing it now, mental retardation was the category
Yes. Yeah,
um,
totally.
for that area of eligibility. And now it's, at least in Oregon, we call it intellectual disability.
Yeah, it's switched, but
Um,
it's true. It's not that long. None of this is that long ago, right?
mhm.
There's a part of the book where I write about how none of this, putting the kid away, institutions that were like horrible nightmare prisons, it's not that long ago. And
Mhm.
without getting political, look where we are now in the disability
Exactly.
rights situation, and look what's happening. Look what people are trying to bring back, and it's really it is all a journey. That's all I'll say. It's all a journey. But
And
yeah.
my question, and then I'll mute myself, is and you kind of answered this, I think, after I raised my hand, but I was curious how it sounds like you were able maybe to be interview or exposed to or observe or watch other teenagers and young adults at your son's school. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much of that you used in forming Emmett as a character.
A ton, a ton. I felt like a sponge. I feel like I've been writing this book for 18 years, but a huge part of the research was just, but I didn't know I was doing the research, was just going to the ideal school, just going there for the events, going there for the performances, going there and going class to class when they had an open school and showing all the civil rights movement projects that everyone did. And it's a mix. It's kids with disabilities and kids without. And you see people expressing things about civil rights and historical reenactments. I'm a drummer, so I joined a parent band there, and we were the band for some of the school dance performances. So I would literally be playing drums and watching these kids dance. And I was just like, it's all about music, man. Like I felt so connected to these kids because I was their drummer singing when they were singing Beatles songs and they were, they were doing dance performances. And so I did that a few years in a row. And so I felt musically very connected to these kids, not just my son. And all of that's in the book, right? There's all this music in the book, and like that. This was my research. This was my research.
Okay, and one more question, and then I
Yeah.
promise I'll shut up and I'll go refill my drink. We were talking before you got here about other works of fiction, not memoirs, but fiction that have young adults or children, young adults, adults with disabilities. We
Yeah.
mentioned Wonder. Wonder is obvious is a great one, but I just was curious if you had other recommendations or suggestions for fiction more than nonfiction about that have characters with disabilities.
Yeah. I mean, before I was even the parent of a child with a disability, I remember reading The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime and just being blown away by that book. That it's a mystery told through this really unique perspective. And I thought that was just such an artful piece of writing. I didn't understand a huge part of what it was about. I was like in my 20s, but I remember just being like, this is just a brilliant way to tell a story and a really interesting character. And then more recently, I was so blown away by and bl- this is what I was trying to do with this book. With my book, I was trying to trick people into reading a book about disability because it's funny and juicy and gossipy, and there's all these twists and turns, and there's Hollywood. I was really trying to like Trojan horse people into reading a book about disability. Like, ha, I tricked you. You read a book about disability, but it's fun because it's funny, or you liked How I Met Your Mother. Like, whatever I could do to trick you in to get the Trojan horse in there, and that's, ha ha! Inside of this horse is a book about disability. That happened to me in a way because I read the book The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. And that book's about so many things. It's so brilliant and epic in scope and just geniusly crafted. But the more you get into that book, the more you slowly realize disability is arguably the main theme of that book. And you get to the end of the book. And has anyone here read, please, when we all ask questions, someone jump in and tell me if this is true for them too. It's the greatest acknowledgments of a book I've ever read. Does anyone here know what I'm talking about? You finish the book and it ends on such a gorgeous, moving, complicated note about disability. And you realize at the very end how many different manifestations of different disability you've seen without it being about that. It's just part of it. It's not about it. It's just baked into the cake. And then at the end, there's like a 2 or 3 page acknowledgments that only thanks one person. And the person that James McBride thanks is the camp director in the 1970s who created and directed a camp exclusively in the 70s for kids, young adults, and kids with disabilities. And he talks about this amazing moment where he experiences years and years after James McBride worked at the camp as a counselor when he was very young. And years later, he attended some ceremony for this camp director that was the entire audience was people with disabilities who he had worked with. And the standing ovation, or as he put it, the ones that could stand gave him a standing ovation that this man received. And it's like a 2 page essay that just tells you that. And if you're not sobbing by the end of the 2 page acknowledgments, I don't know check your pulse. And it was one of those where only at the end did I realize like that's what this whole book was about. And that one just blew my mind. So that's recent recommendation. I bookended my entire disability reading career there without mentioning anything in between. But
Well, and there's so many, I teach English to middle schoolers, and there's so many representations of disabilities for young adults, luckily. Now I feel
yes,
like they have so many books. But as adults, like now we here in this
yeah,
world, it's not as,
yeah, you're right.
yeah, it's just, yeah.
Hang
Um,
on. I want to try to see because I have a little list. I have a little list of a few others that I read that I love. Okay, here's my little list. I wrote a little list of 7 books. Ready? I'm just going to say them just in case anyone wants more. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride, Cassandra in Reverse by Hallie Smale, which is a time travel story that touches upon the autism spectrum. Really brilliant. My book agent, who is my hero, as you now know, uh, told me to read it and it was genius. Wonder by RJ Palacio, who read my book and loved it and was my moderator for my very first book event in New York City, which was unbelievable. A Heart That Works by Rob Delaney, a memoir about losing his son to cancer, who was 1.5 years old. And that is one of the funniest book about that you could ever possibly imagine. Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides, just in terms of a book covering the epic scope of being different. And this a collection of essays called Disability Visibility by Alice Wong that is just a gorgeous assortment of all of these different perspectives from within the disability community. Um, those are a few more. I just felt bad only mentioning two separated by 25 years, so I wanted to mention a few more.
Thank you.
So,
No.
Wrote them
so
down.
Craig, that one by Rob Delaney isn't like the saddest book in the universe because I've read all the
um,
other
it's
mentioned, but that one I'm like, I can't touch it.
it's fucking hilarious
Okay.
and heartbreaking as hell, but it's
Oh,
both. He's so funny along the way and talking about it. What it's about is acceptance. That's what that book's about. It's about acceptance that things don't go the way you want, but that you can still laugh along the way. And he's such a funny writer. He blurbed my book, so I'm obviously completely biased in his favor. I'm also a huge fan of his stand-up and of the show Catastrophe. I just love him. But he finds a way to write about the realest of the real and be really funny, which I think is just heroic. So.
Do you think you can talk a little bit about Craig, because you went from like the screenwriting and then now, writing for a novel, the difference and the surprises and you know, how did that go for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I was surprised most about is how much the skills I developed doing a TV show actually applied to writing a novel, if that's what you mean. Like I'd never written a novel before and writing for Holly. So the absolute most joyous part was writing something that was the thing I wanted to write. And that when I printed it out, it was what I wanted it to be. That other book agent be damned. Aside from that one thing, everything else was great. The book agent I found got it and gave me smart notes to make it better. My editors at HarperCollins, Hanover Square Press, uh, gave me smart notes that made it better. And it was the most joyful notes process. You'll never hear a writer talk about getting notes like I'm talking about getting notes. It was like, yes. Also, it helped that I had spent like a year and a half in my pajamas alone, like scribbling like a madman, feeling like a crazy hermit. And then once you come out of that and get notes, you're like, humans are talking to me. What is this sunlight you speak of? And it's really you're very open to to just any human feedback or interaction at that point, especially if it's good and smart. And my editor was like, I want to make this the most this book that this book can possibly book. And that is a good note, comes from that place. I've had a bunch of times in TV where like without would be way too long of stories. I'm going to reduce it down to 4 sentences. We pitched an entire TV series one time, Carter and I, my writing partner, that we created How Much Mother, called The Goodwin Games. It was this show that was about a dad dies and he turns out to be super rich and none of them knew it. And his will is he leaves a series of games and challenges for them to earn the inheritance. And it's like it was a high concept idea, but it was a show about adult siblings who had drifted, being forced back together, and that was their dad's master plan, right? And we pitched it to a network that bought it and greenlit it. And as soon as we started making the show, they go, we don't, the head president of the network goes, we don't like the games thing. And we're like, well, the show's called The Goodwin Games. There's three words in the title: The, Goodwin, and Games. If you don't like games, we got to take the out of the running. The really isn't doing anything. That means you don't like 50% of the idea. The Goodwins is just the name of the family. They're like, do you just want a show about some adult siblings hanging out? They go, yeah, that'd be better than the games. We hate the games. You're like, oh, God damn it. And when you're getting notes that tell you, make this not the thing that it is, it's like being told, don't be who you are. And that's the worst feeling. It's like being unseen, right? It's it's no different than just life, right? You want to find a way to be who you are in life. And you want, when you are making a thing, it has to be the most thing that it can be. And so that was very joyful in this process, because that's my experience of writing a book, and I had never felt that way for 25 years. Fully ready. When we made How I Met Your Mother be a hit, and when it became a hit in the middle, for like 2 seconds, it felt like, I think we're just able to do what we want now. But like it didn't really, it was still not fully that. It was still always, we still got to keep it a big hit, and oh, the ratings are dipping or whatever, whatever's going on. The book's the book. I don't feel like anyone changed the book from what I wanted it to be. And that's a great feeling. And the process actually was a lot like breaking out a full season of a show, meaning you right over this computer, I'm looking at a dry erase board, a big dry erase board I have on the wall. And that's because that's how we map out stories and seasons in a sitcom. And I did that for the book. I would have Rob was blue, Paige was red, Emmett was purple, Darcy was green, and I would just thread through their stories on the dry erase board. And if I would see a patch in the middle where there wasn't enough green, I'd go, I need more Emmett or whoever was green. I already ruined it. I forgot. I
Darcy.
they need more Darcy. She's green. And I really did the sitcom process on like they call it breaking the story. It's a terrible phrase in a way. We call it breaking a story in sitcom, meaning cracking it, fixing it, but it sounds like you're taking a sledgehammer to it. It's not the idea. Fixing it, cracking it, decoding what the story is. I did the same exact process I would do in TV in some ways when I was just mapping out the story, which to me is, I'm not afraid of writing words, but I need the shape. I need a structure. I need an outline. I need to know how it all fits together. So that I use those same methods in a way to do this.
It's clear in your writing that you're not a first time writer. It's just
Oh,
so
good.
so natural. I mean, obviously.
But no, it's not obvious because you feel so
Different, right?
you feel this felt very new, right? I had never done this. So that's nice to hear. Thank you. But I did not feel like I knew what I was doing in this until I realized if I really break it down into the parts, a novel is a lot like a season or even a series of a show. Like you really are, what are the big moments? What are the big moments, and then what is the sequence of that? How do I connect them? And how along the way do I fill it out in a way that feels human and interesting? And if I take a little side trip away from the momentum of the story, well, that side trip better be really interesting and funny, or else it's going to kill the momentum.
So, do you think Kristen's wondering too? Do you think your book will then become a series or a movie?
I tried to think of that as little as I could because I really was writing it to get away from that.
Yeah.
Um, if somebody wanted to do that, I would do it as long as we could do it the right way.
Mhm.
Um, but I had to like really like step back from thinking of it like that because I think some people do write a book thinking this will get made into a movie or this will get made into a show, and I had to like slap myself on the wrist and be like, no, stop thinking of it that way. You're writing this actually to escape that paradigm. And if that were to happen, it would be really weird and postmodern because it'd be like a book about a movie about a
Right.
book about a movie, like
Very meta.
mirrors into
Yes.
a,
Yes.
a in Hall of Mirrors. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. I wouldn't say no, but I don't need it. I don't need that to happen
Yeah.
to feel good about it, which
Right.
is the best thing.
Yeah. One of the questions we were talking about in book club is obviously Hollywood and book publishing are businesses. And at the end of the day, like there's a bottom line and it's about money. Do you, now being in both of these worlds, that's kind of a rarity. And do you feel like there's a difference in how like art is looked at or how creativity is viewed or how just things get made between the two industries, or is it just at the end of the day like it's just about making a buck?
I think everyone wants to make a buck. I think that is the dirty truth.
Yeah.
And I think publishers are still thinking about making a buck and will this appeal to people? And I think it helped that I was in my pitch of the book, I was very much indicating in like my pitch letter, there's an audience for this and here's why, and like kind of adding up the math of why that's true. And this book will speak to people like you, Kelly. You know what I mean? Like people that are like on this journey and like wanting to hear stories that talk about this. And I was able to make that case to my book agent, and she got it, and she helped me write my pitch letter to the publisher that very much accentuated, we're not asking you to do this to be noble. We're saying there's an audience for this. We're saying like this can be one of those rare overlaps of meaning and financial success. And the book is doing really well, and it's finding its audience, and I feel like it's being borne out that there's an audience for this book, but it is a book by a first-time author about disability, and it's not going to be the first thing that's like the most promoted, like it's the new Stephen King novel. Like I need to go out there and like try to convince people to read this book, and it's so I just if I haven't said this enough yet, thank you guys for having me today, because this is how it happens, and getting people to spread the word and say, hey, like this is a book that's funny about this hard thing. And it's a thing that's part of all of our lives in some way. So the dream is always like, can you find the merging of like commerce and art? And ev I think there is that potential with stories like this, whether or not this book becomes a bestseller. I think there's a big audience for these types of stories, and it's really hard to convince people in Hollywood sometimes, and maybe in publishing too. But there is. I really think these stories need to be told, and again, that's being borne out because I'm just hearing from so many people all over the world about their connection to this book, and it's a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. Either Anna, do you have a question about the audiobook?
Oh yeah, I was wondering if the narrator of Emmett had Down syndrome, and then I found out that he does actually have Down
Oh, yes,
syndrome. And just the process of choosing, I don't know if you had any play in who
I
you
did.
chose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was great. No, if he didn't have Down syndrome, I should be run out of town on a rail and tarred and
Well, because I
feathered.
was like, he better
I should
because
be banned from ever writing
in the
again if
movie
we
and the book, yeah.
feel like, wait, you just did the thing you said don't not to do in the book.
Yeah.
Uh, no, it was so great. I'm glad you asked this, Anna. Thank you, because here's what happened. Uh, the audiobook producers were like, we're going to let you spend extra money on this audiobook. Because I said, I want two of the actors from How I Met Your Mother, because that will be a How I Met Your Mother reunion in an audiobook form. How I Met Your Mother has in a weird way become maybe more popular after going off the air. Like it's doing really well. And I said, there will be people who will experience this book just because they want to hear Josh and Kobe, Ted and Robin on the show reunited in this audiobook. Again, Trojan horse will trick people into
Yep.
listening to a book about disability. And then there's this wonderful young actress, Marley Watson, who plays Darcy, who's phenomenal. But the true star, even more than Josh and Kobe, is Kevin Iannucci, and the audiobook producer and I looked at all of these different actors who are all amazing, young actors with Down syndrome. Kevin was in this movie called Champions. It's a very funny and respectful, I feel, movie by the Farrelly brothers. That Woody Harrelson, Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny, and Kevin. That's the three stars. Kevin is the co-lead star of this movie with Woody Harrelson, and like he was so great, and we hired him as to be the voice of Emmett. And I met with him and his mom, and we talked all about it. And the audiobook producer said to me at one point, I've been producing audiobooks for 15 years. I've never once gotten to hire one audiobook narrator with Down syndrome until your book. And I thought, this is before the book came out, obviously, right? We're producing the audiobook. And I thought, it was one of those moments where I thought, if not one person buys this book, the fact that Kevin Iannucci gets a paycheck and gets a job to do this, the book worked. I felt like the book already worked by that one thing. So he is so great in the audiobook. He's so excellent, I think, in his performance as Emmett. I just I can't say enough nice things about it. It just made me feel so good. So I'm really proud of that audiobook. Sometimes people say, "Oh, the audiobook's getting a lot of like Kirkus gave the audiobook an award and like the audiobook got a lot of attention." Some people were like, "Does that bother you that the audiobook's getting a bunch of attention, maybe more than the book?" And I go, "No." I'm so thrilled. These actors were amazing in the audiobook and it's still the story. It's a different way to experience the
Yeah.
story, but I don't it's such a fun. I've been asked that question like 20 times. And I'm like, no, that's great. I'm
Your
so happy because
story. Yeah.
it's right. It's still the story. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Can I,
Especially, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm like floored that I didn't know that Rob and his wife were the actors from How I Met Your Mother. Like
yeah.
my mind right now is just like, wait, that was Robin,
Ted and
and
Robin. Ted and
really?
Robin
I'm
Now,
going
remade.
back to
yeah,
re-listen because I didn't
I have
catch
to
that either, and I
listen because
love
it
How I
does
Met
make
Your Mother.
sense now that you say that.
Yeah.
Okay, wow,
Yeah.
my mind. Okay,
Which
wow,
is so meaningful to me too, because they were there for me,
yeah,
right? When I walked out of that bad newsroom and
yeah,
went back to work, they were the people that saw me, and I felt especially close to those two, let's
yeah.
say,
I mean, the
so they
casting
came
of
and did this for me.
right,
It
the
was
whole
so
cast
great.
is
Yeah.
just everyone's saying it. The cast is like the best audiobook. They're putting it on their favorite audiobook lists everywhere. It's just
Yeah,
because
I'm thrilled by that. It's so
yeah.
funny to me that anyone think I wouldn't be.
Well, when you
So
think
Craig,
about,
oh,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, I was just going to tell Craig, my teenager's in the room next to me, and when you mentioned that How I Met Your Mother has a resurgence or more popularity now, I hollered to them. I said, "How many times have you watched How I Met Your Mother? The whole thing?" And they said, "I think 9 or 10." And they're
I keep
15.
on hearing 13 times for some reason, like
Yeah.
over and over again, 13 times. Like, why 13? But it's crazy. People are binging and going back through, and then a lot of those fans, the younger fans, are like finding it 20 teens and 20s, and
Uh,
then a lot of them stumbled upon the book, and I'm like, I'm so happy about that because I wish I had heard and experienced or read stories like this when I was like 18 or 20 or 20. That is the age at which it's most meaningful to understand that you should see people, the entire tapestry of human neurodiversity. It's all it's all glorious and beautiful, and it's all humanity, and every one of us, right? The
Mhm.
big premise of my book, I don't even like this. I agree with Paige in my book. I think the phrase special needs is questionable, but don't we all have special needs? Isn't the premise of this book that all of these characters have these deep aching needs that aren't being met and everyone's on their cliff? It's not just Emmett on a cliff. And so it's hilarious. My son is trying to call me right now. The inspiration for Emmett decided his dad's available now. He's like, I'm busy like 8 to 9. He's like, all right, 8:58. I'm calling you. It's okay.
Oh.
I can keep talking.
Well, any last questions before we let Craig go?
Yeah. Thank you for writing it.
Oh, thank you for reading it. It means the
It was
world to me,
amazing.
truly.
So far, my favorite book of the year.
Oh man, that
Mine too.
makes
It was fantastic. Everything about it. My son has a developmental disability, different one, but I
yeah,
felt so, it was a mirror and a window for me. I felt so seen in the anxieties you get as your child approaches adulthood. My son is in 10th grade now.
yeah,
Like you nailed it. But then I also learned so much about, Down syndrome and things I didn't know. And also that I couldn't hear Ted and Robin in those characters is a
Right.
testament to the voice. You wrote such strong, fully developed characters. The plot had like not a stray hair out of place. I
oh
love
man,
this book. Thank you for writing it. And the fact that
oh
you keep
man.
saying you have to trick people, I'm like, no, you don't have to trick people. This is such a good book.
Thank you. I'm so glad this is being recorded because I need to listen to every word you just said, like 2, 3 mornings a week. So thank you for
Your morning mantras. Yeah.
that.
Greg, I would like to know what's next for you. Another book?
Yes, the answer is yes. I very much want to write another book. That is the absolute next thing I want to do. I am in that jotting down every little idea and figuring out what's going to spark place. And it's tough. I now know it's like running a marathon. Like you got to mean it. You got to mean it. It's got to be in. You got to want. It has to be something that really has its hooks in you to that level. And so I know how daunting it is to meet that bar of like what's that level of meaning. But I have a few things that are cooking in my brain, and that is what I want to do next. Much more than I'd want to go back to writing TV or film, honestly. This was my favorite thing I've ever gotten to do.
Oh, I love that.
Maybe for all of us, that's exciting news.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for wanting to read another one. I appreciate it. I'm going to start jotting things down as soon as we hang up.
Perfect. Well, you better call Elliot back first.
Yes, Elliot first, then Matt.
Can you show a picture?
Thank you guys. You've made my day. It's what a gift to experience hearing from all of you, and like thank you for receiving this book. It does feel like putting a message in a bottle and throwing it out there from your little island, because it can feel so lonely, this journey, right? There are people on this call right now that I know feel that sometimes, and the idea that other people are out there to find that message in the bottle, that it will wash up on other shores and find other people. It's such an act of faith to do that, not just in writing a book, but just like what I said earlier, that I wish I had put more of it out there sooner, and that I had made that part of my story and my identity sooner, because there are people like everyone here tonight that are there to receive it. You fear there aren't, but there are. And I think it just takes time to realize that. And it's thank you everybody here for reminding me of that tonight.
Would you mind if we took a picture with you real quick? Just because we
No.
love to end that way, and
Not
then
at all.
we can tag you in some
Yeah.
posts and spread the word. Yeah, here, let me get that set up. You guys have the
Thank you,
cover.
Lynn, for holding up the book. I see you. You're better at PR than me, apparently. I have no book nearby now.
I think you have one. Do you have one behind you?
I do probably. Hang
Or
on.
in
Yes.
your picture on the
I grab
wall?
one. There's a picture on the wall. Yes,
Ah.
but I'll grab. Let me grab the book. I'm gonna grab the book. All right.
Okay.
Hang on.
Okay. Yeah, everyone, this is Kelly's book because she loaned it to me and I never got a chance to return it. So,
Dear Lord, good eyes, Kelly. You just passed an eye exam for seeing that. Jesus Christ, that was really good.
We pay attention.
Love it. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, got it.
Awesome. So Elliot's calling me again.
All right,
Okay, you gotta go. All right.
Bye.
When I say 9, he's like 9. So anybody else here, their kids are on a schedule?
Yeah.
Is anybody else there? Kelly,
it,
you know
got
what I
it.
mean? The
Yep.
schedule is God.
It's urgent. It's urgent.
You know what we're gonna do? And this is no shit. I'm not just saying this. I'm gonna go get that guitar, and I'm gonna play like 3 Pearl Jam songs with him right now on this cover. That is exactly what it's about to happen.
I love it. That's great. All right.
On topic
Thanks.
for the day.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you guys.
Greg.
This was a gift.
Thank
This
you.
was a joy. Thank you
Bye.
all. Bye, guys.